Hello guys, this is Oroth and a warm welcome back to my channel. Today I'm very happy to finally be able to share with you this free-to-play guide that I've been working on for a few weeks. And I call it the ultimate free-to-play guide. And this guide will be helpful for anyone who is a low spender, who is lower resonance. It's not only for those who are free to play, but also those who perhaps buys a battle pass or buys a bundle here and there. But the main goal of this guide is to give you a tool that can help you to choose more wisely about how to invest your platinum, how to build your character, and just use the resources you have at hand to become as strong as possible in this game. And before we start, I would also like to remind you that Rome was not built in one day, and the same goes for a Diablo Immortal character. So there is nothing you can do to build your character perfect in one day, no matter if you are free to play or not. You have to be patient, and you have to just aim your focus in the right direction, and slow and steady you will become stronger and stronger and stronger. So with that being said, I think we can continue and start to talk about the timeline of this video. So first of all, I want to talk about the different roles. And with different roles, I mean that in Diablo Immortal, there are different types of characters and different kinds of playstyles that speaks to different people. So in this segment, we will just go through the different classes and how you have to adapt depending on which route you choose. In the next segment, we're going to talk about combat rating. And here I want to give you some clear advice on how to evaluate the effect of combat rating and when it's important and when it's not that important. In the next segment, we're going to talk about the different sets that are in the game, and we're going to highlight a few core sets depending on which role you are. So if you're a support character, there is perhaps another set that is more vital compared to if you are a damage dealer. So very important to think about. After that, we will talk about Essence Mastery and the impact that has on your character and what you should focus on. The next segment after that is the importance of being in a clan and what benefits that you will get from that. The next segment is about Warband and Warband activities. And inside a Warband there are many different perks that you can utilize to grow your character stronger. After that, we will talk about Reforge, and there I will give clear recommendation about what you should focus on and how it works. And the next segment will be about Paragon trees, and we will both talk about how to invest your Paragon points, but also about different Paragon trees that you can activate for extra bonuses. And it depends a little bit on the content you're playing, but we will go through that in that segment. After that, we will talk about normal attributes and how that affects your character and what you should think about when evaluating normal attributes. After that, we will talk about secondary attributes and how that affects your character. After that, we will talk about magical attributes, and also, as in the other segments, I want to give clear recommendations about what you should focus on. After that, we will talk about whether you should focus on cursed properties or invocations on your legendary items. After this, we will talk about Hilts and the Hilts Trader and I will give recommendations about what you should invest in with your hilts. After this, a very interesting and exciting topic is legendary gems, and I will give clear recommendations about some core gems in the game, and also about how to upgrade them wisely. After that, we will talk about the charm and the charm effects. And then we will talk about platinum and both how to acquire platinum and how to invest your platinum. And after that, we will talk a little bit about theorycrafting. We will not dive too deep into it, but just a little bit how you can think when you build your character before going out and doing different types of content. And finally, we will make a summary about the video and some key takeaways. Of course, this is going to be a long video, so it's going to be quite difficult to summarize everything in that segment, but just some key takeaways. And yeah, as I just mentioned, this is going to be quite a long video, and I understand if most of you will not watch the entire video in one go. But the point of this guide is actually that you don't have to watch it all at once. The point is that you can maybe come back to this video and check something up later. If you, for example, want to buy a new legendary gem from the market, you can go back to this video and just to remember, okay, what was the suggestions and the recommendations given here. So please save the video and yeah, come back to it as many times as you want. So this is basically what we're going to talk about today. So let's first talk about the roles in Diablo Immortal. There are different types to approach this topic. First of all, there are range classes and there are melee classes. So range classes is if you are attacking from afar, and a melee class is if you are attacking right next to the target. And depending on what type of class you pick, you also have to alter the build of your character a little bit. But I can understand that as a free-to-play or a low spender, you can sometimes have limited resources in how to... and it can be difficult to make choices about what to invest in. So I'm going to try to, in my recommendations, as much as I can, make suggestions that are actually viable cross-class and cross-play style, if you understand what I mean. But if we start looking at the ranged characters, we have the Wizard, we have the Demon Hunter, and we have the Necromancer. If we look at the melee classes, we have the Barbarian, the Monk, and the Crusader. And you could also say perhaps that Blood Knight is a melee character, even though it has some kind of mid-range elements as well. There are also some classes that are very good for support, and that is Monk, Crusader, and perhaps even Barbarian. Of course, most classes have some buffs that they can utilize to strengthen their party, strengthen their team. But I would say the main classes for buffs is, I would say, Monks and Crusaders, and then Barbarian in the third spot. We also have some tanky characters. We have the Barbarian, we have the Crusader, and we have the Blood Knight. And yeah, of course, you can of course make some of the other classes a bit tanky as well. But I would say that if you prefer to play a tanky class, I would pick one of these three. Then we have some DPS dealers, and it's the same thing here. Of course, every class can make damage, but there are some classes that are stronger than the others. And I would say that there are two classes right now that outshines the rest, but this can of course change in future patches. And that is the Necromancer and the Blood Knight. But of course, also the wizard and the demon hunter, if you build it correctly, you can do a lot of damage with it. But me personally, I play as a necromancer, and I'm a necromancer deep in my heart. And I have managed to juice up my damage quite a lot. And I think for now, actually, necromancer is the strongest when it comes to DPS. So it's hard for me to give any clear recommendations here. I think it's important to ask yourself, what do I think is the most fun? I can say this, that if you have limited resources, it's actually very good to play something that supports the team. Because it doesn't matter if you are low resonance or high resonance, when you buff someone, it will still have the same effect no matter what. So if you want to be very impactful, if you play the Crusader, it doesn't really matter that much if you are free to play or if you are a high resonance player, because actually the buffs that you are applying to your teammates, they will be just as strong. So for me, when I deal quite a lot of damage, and for me it doesn't really matter if it's a low resonance Crusader or if it's a high resonance Crusader on my team. But what matters is what build they are using and what set they have equipped. And that's what we're going to talk about in this video, so that you get a better understanding about, okay, if I am this role, what can people expect from me? So if I'm a Crusader and people expect from me that I'm going to support them and buff them, I should not equip a set, for example, that optimizes my own damage. I have to think about, how do I optimize my team? And if you are able to do that properly, you will be one of the most important players on the team. As in any game like this, if you play support class and you do it well, you will be the favorite for everyone to bring with them into dungeons, into raids, and whatsoever. So this is just a little bit about the different roles and different playstyles. So before you start investing a lot, you have to think about, what do I want? What is my goal with my character? So let us continue and start talking about combat rating. I have mentioned combat rating before in some of my other videos, and what I can see is that a lot of players, they're actually looking too much at combat rating. So whenever they find a new item, for example, they tend to look a lot on the combat rating, and whenever they find an upgrade combat rating wise, they will equip it and maybe destroy an item that is actually better. So if you go to your attribute screen, you can find your combat rating, and if you hover over it, you can actually see what bonuses your current combat rating gives you. And combat rating increases your damage against the enemies, but there is a cap on this damage modifier at 11.3%. So as you can see here, I'm in Inferno 2 with a combat rating of 24,796. And my combat rating is a lot higher than the recommended. And therefore I have reached this cap. So it doesn't really matter in PvE if I would improve my combat rating further, because that will not have an effect at all on my output. So keep that in mind. But yeah, I understand that if you're a little bit newer player, you might be lower combat rating, and then of course it matters. So the key rule is that if you're below the recommended combat rating, you should always aim to improve your combat rating. But as soon as you're above the recommended level, then you should focus on other things. And there are some types of contents that where you will most likely be below the recommended, and that is for example in challenge rifts. So if you try to beat your record in the challenge rift, you will definitely be below the recommended combat rating. then it's very wise to try to up it as much as possible. You also have raids. If you look here, for example, this is the final Inferno 3 boss. And as you can see, my combat rating is way below the recommended. If I would enter this raid with this combat rating, I will not stand a chance against this boss. So then it doesn't really matter how I have built my character and if I'm super strong. If the combat rating is too low, it will not be able to complete this content. So then I have to focus on trying to up my combat rating to this limit, 26,020. So yeah. And then we also have PvP. In PvP, the damage cap is at 10%. And of course, all the enemies in Battlegrounds, for example, they will all be at different combat rating. So if you are a higher combat rating, you will have this damage cap against more players compared to if you are lower combat rating. This video will mostly talk about PvE, but of course I still want to mention this when we're talking about combat rating. So my recommendation is that you should of course keep in your armory a set which optimizes your combat rating, but in most situations you will have to focus on other things that we talk about in this video. So that is the key takeaway for combat rating. Yes, let's move on and talk about sets. And there are many different sets in Diablo Immortal, and it's very, very important to equip the correct one depending on your role and what type of content it is. So first of all, I want to highlight one of the sets that are extremely important for support classes, and that is the Vitus Urge set. And what it basically does is that it prolongs all the buff durations. So when you're applying a buff to your party, it will stay there 30% longer. But it also gives everyone extra attack speed when you are buffing them for 3 seconds. Or even longer if you have beneficial effect duration. So yeah, this is a must-have for any class that plays support. This can also be used to buff yourself and to improve your own damage, because attack speed is very, very important. And I often see when I go to random dungeons, for example, and I get a Crusader on my party or a Monk on my party, I can see that even if they're playing some support skills, which they should, they are maybe not using this set. So they are trying to maybe increase their own damage a little bit by using perhaps Grace of the Flagellant or another type of set. And I would say that this is very wrong as a support, because the Vitus Urge effect is so extremely strong. So it will make you finish any dungeon or any raid so much faster. So please, I recommend everyone, even if you're not playing support all the time, this is a very good set. So you should at least have 4 pieces of it stashed in your stash. So very important. When it comes to vital DPS sets, there are many different choices, and this of course depends on what type of character you're playing or what your build looks like. But I would say that one of the most important attributes to increase in Diablo Immortal is critical hit chance. And there are a few sets that actually buffs your critical hit chance. So you have, as a summoner necromancer, for example, you have the Shepherd's set. If you use dash skills, you can use the Gloom Guide set. And if you use continual damage effects, then Banquet of Ice is very strong. And I know that if you are a DPS dealer, I know that a lot of you tend to perhaps focus on, if you're a Demon Hunter, for example, I see a lot of people using Shalbaz or maybe Shalbas combined with Vitus Urge, and that is very strong. But if you have a support player on your team, they will actually apply the Vitus effect on you. So what you want then is to have another set, and if you opt for critical hit chance, it's gonna have a great effect on your damage output. So try to really keep this in mind when you are constructing a party to speedrun in dungeons, for example. I would say that, as a Necromancer, it's a very easy choice to use the Shepherd set. But if you play Demon Hunter or if you play Wizard, I would really try to find ways to utilize Gloom Guides or Banquet of Ice, because those effects are very strong if you manage to pump the critical hit chance up as much as possible. Of course, sometimes it's also very viable to use combinations of different sets. If you run in dungeons, for example, for some classes, mobility is an issue, and then you can include 2 pieces of Issatar to increase your movement speed. I tend to do this as a Necromancer because I'm moving fairly slow, and if I use 6 pieces of Shepherd in a dungeon, yes, the fights will be over a bit faster, but I actually have to think about the time in between fights when I have to move from A to B, for example. And then it's very good to put in 2 pieces of Issatar. And also when I play in open world, I actually use 2 pieces of Issatar and 2 pieces of Windloft to ensure that I always have as much movement speed as possible. Because when it comes down to it, Diablo Immortal is about grinding, and it's about investing your time a lot to find upgrades, etc. And the faster you can finish content, the faster you will improve. So keep this in mind when you are building your character. So yeah, I just talked a little bit about it. If you go into dungeons, it depends on which dungeons you are entering. If you go into Namari, for example, you don't have to rely that much on your mobility, because there are not long distances where you have to run. So there you can maybe focus some more on just optimizing your DPS if you are a DPS dealer. But if you are in another dungeon, like perhaps Tomb of Fahir, you have to run a little bit more, then you can put in these 2 pieces of Issatar. If you are in a raid, mobility is not as important because you will engage the boss immediately. So there I would also recommend to try to optimize your damage as much as possible, unless you are a support class, because then we talked about the importance of using the Vitus Urge set. And when it comes to open world, the same thing there. Mobility is the most important thing there, because damage-wise, most monsters will die anyways. And we will talk a little bit more in a later segment called Theorycrafting about how to approach different kinds of content. So the next thing we're going to talk about is Essence Mastery. And Essence Mastery is pretty straightforward. You don't have to think that much about this segment, because actually when you play the game, you will increase your Essence Mastery, and quite fast you will max it at rank 4. So you don't have to be worried about doing something wrong here. But I can just mention that there are a lot of different Essence Mastery effects on different types of items. And some of them increases the damage of a certain skill. Some of them increases the cooldown reduction of a certain skill. While some of them increases perhaps the life of a summon, for example. And I would say that if it's not a clear choice between 2 essences, which one is the strongest, you should look at the essence mastery, and if it gives damage or cooldown reduction, that's very good compared to increased life of a summon, for example, because in most content that will not be an issue. The issue will be how fast can you kill something, and therefore damage and cooldown reduction matters more. And I would say the damage is even more important than cooldown reduction, because most fights will be over quite fast, and then the cooldowns will be ready until the next fight. So I would say damage is most important, but in longer fights, of course, cooldown reduction matters. And here it's also important to mention that there's a cooldown reduction cap at 20%. So if you have managed to lower the cooldown of a certain skill with 20%, you can't lower it further. So if you have a possibility to choose between cooldown reduction or damage, you can look and see, okay, if the cooldown reduction is already capped, it's a very easy choice to go for the damage, for example. So this is just some thoughts about Essence Mastery. The next thing that I want to talk about is the importance of being in a great clan. Because there are many different perks you get from being in a clan. And first of all, you get some buffs. You get some buffs from the clan rank itself. And the buffs themselves, they're not super strong, but they are still there. You can gain some extra experience or be a little bit stronger when you're fighting immortals in the vault, for example. But you also have accursed towers, and depending on which towers that your clan owns, you will get very strong buffs. And here are two examples. In my clan we have a PvP tower that gives us extra HP in PvP, which is very important. And also we have a tower that reduces the time it takes to farm monstrous essences for your bestiary. And as I mentioned earlier, Diablo Immortal is a lot about how to invest your time. So if you are farming in open world and you find these essences a lot faster when you're in a clan, of course, that's a very good thing. There are also a lot of other buffs that you can get from other types of towers, but we have chosen these two because those are the ones we like the most. What's also very important about being in a clan is that even if you can play Diablo Immortal solo, and that can be very relaxing to just go into random dungeons, it's also very good to have friends in your clan that can help you with something. Especially if you are lower resonance, it's good to be in a clan with a few stronger players that can help you with some raids or help you to finish the gauntlet for the first time, because that will give you extra rewards and save you a lot of time. And also, of course, the social aspect makes it a lot more fun to play, because if you play together, you know each other for a long time. That's one of the main reasons why I play this game, because I have a lot of friends in my clan and in my alliance. So it's so much easier to grind in open world in a circle for hours if you're on Discord and you can talk with each other and have fun while doing it. So I really recommend you to try to join a strong clan with a lot of active players. You also get a lot of rewards from being in a clan. For example, from the towers, you can each week collect a lot of good rewards like legendary crests, set items, legendary items, etc. You also get rewards from just being there for Shadow War. And these rewards help you to improve your character. It can be upgrade materials for your legendary items or new very good items that are upgrades for you. So also a reason to be in a clan. And my recommendation here is that I understand that if you are a newer player or if you are a little bit lower resonance, it can sometimes be a bit difficult to maybe join a very active clan, because sometimes they have rules that you have to be above a certain level. But it's like applying for a job. If you just apply and then you don't make an action, most likely you will not get a job. And it's the same with applying to a clan. So if you see a few different clans that seems interesting for you, I urge you to reach out to their clan leader or to their officers and introduce yourself and tell them about yourself and that you are planning to play very actively, because then it's a greater chance that they will accept you. Because I am, for example, clan leader of my clan, Kuro, and we often get a red dot in the menu that there's a new applicant for the clan, and there are applicants all the time. So of course most of them we just reject them because we don't have time to talk with all of them. But if someone reaches out to me and explains, tells me who they are and what their goals are, then I also know that, okay, this player is probably gonna be active, he's probably gonna be social, and that's very good for the clan. So yeah, I just wanted here to show you an example of someone who applied to the clan and he wrote this to me, and of course this will improve his chances a lot, even though he's a little bit lower resonance. So keep that in mind when looking for a new clan. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the Warband. And in the latest patch there was a lot of updates to how Warband works, and now it's a lot easier to acquire Warband points and to gain strength from Warband effects, even though you play solo even. So there are a few different things I'm going to bring up here, and the first thing is the Ancestral Tableau. And as you can see here, there are a lot of weapons that each member in the Warband can put in, and this will give you the possibility to pick an extra bonus effect that will trigger from Invocation that is on certain legendary items. Not all legendary items has Invocation, but some of them does. So for example, there is one Invocation that says each time you make damage, there's X% chance to trigger the Invocation. And as you can see here on the screen, one of the Invocation bonuses are damage increased by 15% for 6 seconds. So it's quite a strong effect. But you have to choose between aiming for Invocation or aiming for cursed properties and cursed effects. And there is a segment later where I will give recommendations about what to focus on between the two. But there is not only these Invocation effects that you get from the Ancestral Tableau. You can also see here that you get bonuses to your normal attributes and to your combat rating. And you upgrade this by acquiring Warband activity points. And before you had to do activities together with your Warband in a group to acquire these points fast. But now with the latest patch, there is actually a lot easier to maximize this each week, because you can acquire a total of 1,500 points every week. So I recommend you to do this. You don't have to think too much about what to focus on here. If you upgrade the Ancestral Tableau, you will gain bonus effects over time. And also if you are far behind the normal Ancestral Tableau level of the server, you will actually gain increased bonuses for each upgrade. So yeah, this is something to focus on, to grow over time. In the Warband, there is also a Warband stash, and if you are in a party with a Warband member, there's a chance that a sealed Warband chest can drop. And if you go to Castle of Siranger, you can hand in these Warband chests, and you can find items that anyone in your Warband can equip. And these items are not for your own class, but they will be for a different class. So if you hand in a Warband chest and you are a Necromancer, you might find an item for a Demon Hunter, for example. So then any Demon Hunter can equip it. And you can borrow one item at a time. But there's actually a trick. So it's actually possible to borrow, or let's say borrow, several items from the Warband stash. And that is that when you borrow an item, for example, I class changed to Wizard from Necromancer because there was a very nice Wizard item in the Warband stash. So I class changed to Wizard and I borrowed this weapon. And then when I class change back to Necromancer, it actually creates a copy of that weapon. And you can see here on the screen, I have a weapon here called No Rest, No Peace. And it's actually a copy of the Wizard weapon that I borrowed as a Wizard. So what I can do is that if there is a Wizard weapon, as in this case, I class change to Wizard, I borrow the weapon, I equipped it, and then I class change back to Necromancer. And when I class change back to Necromancer, the Wizard weapon will go back into the Warband stash, but I will have a copy equipped. And if there is another item I want to borrow, I can just do the same thing over and over again. So by doing this, it's a little bit of a workaround, but I can actually get several great items from the Warband stash. So this is a great tip that any one of you can use if you want to. There's also another very important thing when it comes to Warband that affects your strength as a character, and that is the Warband remnants that you get from Purge of the Depths. If you're in a Warband, you can choose to become different types of roles. So you can choose to become an attacker, which will buff your damage output. You can choose to become support or protector. And yeah, I don't remember the fourth one, but there are four different ones, types of roles that you can choose in a Warband. And I would say that the one with the best effects is the attacker room. But there are also some great effects from the protector room. So those are my two favorites. I tend to go protector when I'm in PvP, and I use attacker when I'm in PvE. And it can be quite a tedious task to farm these remnants, because what you do is that you go to Purge the Depths, and then you can loot many different remnants, but they can be from any type of role. So you can first find an attacker remnant, and then the next one gonna be a protector remnant. And when you finish the Purge, all the remnants you found during that run will turn into a specific remnant set. And you can't move remnants between different sets. So to find a very good remnant set, it takes a lot of time and a lot of luck. But there's actually a trick that you can do. If you start a Purge and you kill everything in the first wing, and if you didn't manage to get a good start, for example, me, I'm farming for attacker remnants, and I want to have all the yellow ones and all the blue ones in the same set. And if I did the first wing, and I wasn't able to find a single attacker remnant, where I only found a blue one, but nothing else, instead of finishing the Purge, I just exit. Because when I exit without finishing, when I enter again, it's going to be the exact same map. So then I can learn the map by heart and just keep farming the first wing until I have a good start. So a good start for me is that after the first wing I have found one yellow attacker remnant and one or two blue attacker remnants. Then I can actually keep on farming the second and the third wing. And if the results are bad, I don't finish the purge, I just exit and I can restart again. And this is a very efficient way to farm for these remnants, even though it's gonna take a lot of time to find the perfect set. But this is just a trick that you can use if you want to. Also, when you do raids, it's wise to do them with your Warband, because you just set a time, so you know that okay, every Monday at 9 o'clock I will do raids with my Warband. So it just makes it simpler to plan different types of content when you are in a Warband. Now with the latest patch, it's a lot easier you don't have to plan as much, but it's still nice because just as I said with the clan, I have a lot of friends in our Warband and we play a lot together. So yeah, it makes it more fun for me to play Diablo Immortal. So I recommend you to really look for an active Warband. And if you can't find one, try to form one. If you want to invest time in that, it's gonna improve the feeling of playing Diablo Immortal for sure. Yeah, so I just gave you some recommendations about why you should be in a Warband, and as you can see, there's a lot of factors when it comes to Warband that affects your build. So this is not something that you can skip in my book if you want to optimize your character. You have to think about the effects from Warband activities, etc. So the next thing we're going to talk about is Reforge. And Reforge is basically bonus effects that you can apply to your legendary items. And as you can see here, I have made a print screen of my legendary items. And you can see there's a number on each item, and that shows what rank this item is. So when you start playing Diablo Immortal, you will not see a number here because you have not upgraded your items yet. And as you start upgrading your items, you will unlock new slots, Reforge slots. And it works like this, that when you upgrade an item to rank 6, you get one slot. And then you get the next slot at rank 11, and then at rank 16, at rank 21, and the last one at rank 26. So my recommendation here is that you want to unlock these slots as fast as possible. So instead of upgrading all your items to first rank 1, and then all your items to rank 2, and then all your items to rank 3, I want you to focus on one item at a time. So you can start with your helmet and upgrade it to rank 6 to unlock the first slot. Then you do the same thing for the chest, and then the shoulders, and then the legs, and so on. And then when all of your items are rank 6, then you have one Reforge slot on each item. After this, you upgrade your helmet to rank 11, and then your chest to rank 11, and so on. Because this way you will ensure to unlock the Reforge slots as fast as possible. And when you put in your Reforge bonuses, you can see here an example. You have there are different types of Reforge families, and they all give different effects. So if we look here on the left picture, we can see the Jolt stone, and the Jolt family. And there you can also see something called family set bonus. And this triggers when you have at least 3 effects from this attribute list on the right side on one item. So if you manage to get 3 attribute effects from the Jolt family, then you will also activate this family set bonus. And I have received a lot of questions whether it's important to focus on the family set bonus, or if you should just focus on the attribute effects themselves. And my recommendation here is that even though the family bonus can be important in some cases, it's a lot better to focus on the effects themselves. So don't feel stressed about trying to have the family bonus on every item, because it's more important to have the right effects. So I actually have a tip for you. If you are willing to spend some platinum on this, it's going to be a lot easier to get the effects that you want. And as I said before, I don't focus on the family bonus, but with my setup on my legendary items, I actually use 3 effects from the Wildfire family on each item. So then I will actually, as a bonus, on top of the effects that I'm looking for, I will also get the family bonus in this case. And my tip works like this, that if you just use normal Reforge stones, it will take a long time to get what you need. But when you have unlocked all 5 slots on an item, it's a lot easier if you use the trick I'm going to show you now. So at rank 26, you have unlocked 5 Reforge slots on an item. So me, for example, I want to have 3 effects from the Wildfire family. So what I do is that I buy one of these Wildfire Reforge stones for 1,000 platinum, and then I roll it on one of the Reforge slots. So let's say that I, on the first slot, roll primary attack damage. Then I have 4 slots left, right? And when I roll on the second slot, I know that the primary attack damage is already in the first slot. So it will not be possible for me to roll it again on the second slot. So it will be one of the other 4. So I roll 1 time on the second slot and I get skill damage. And then I roll 1 time on the third slot, and I know that it will not be primary attack damage or skill damage, because you can't have the same effect in 2 different slots. So on the third roll I get damage done to enemies below 30% life increased. And then I do the same for the 4th slot, and then I do the same for the 5th slot. So now I actually have an item with 5 effects from the Wildfire family. And the cool thing here is that if I would roll again on the top slot, which says primary attack damage increased, every roll that I do with a Wildfire Reforge stone will be primary attack damage. And I know that with my setup, I want to have primary attack damage, I want to have skill damage, and I want to have critical hit damage. So it's very easy then to maximize these 3 effects, because yeah, it's a 1 in 6 chance that the primary attack damage will be 4%. And it's 1 in 3 that the skill damage will be 2%. And it's 1 in 5 that the critical hit damage will be 3%. So I just have to roll a few times, and then I have maximized it. And after that I can start using normal Reforge stones on the 3rd slot and on the 5th slot to look for the other effects that I want to have on my item. So this is just a little tip. I know that you have to spend some platinum on it, but I would say it's actually a wise thing to do, because yeah, it costs some platinum, but the effects are very strong. So let's look on some recommendations here on what type of effects you should be looking for. This is of course a little bit depending on your build, but I would say that there are some core reforges, and that is primary attack damage, skill damage, critical hit damage, and duration of beneficial effects. If you pick these 4 effects, they will be useful for any type of playstyle or any type of character. And of course, this is most efficient in PvE. I know that a lot of players is using the Reforge to try to optimize their PvP as much as possible. But my reasoning is this, that every change that you make to your PvE output will have more impact than the change you do to your PvP setup. Because in PvP, all the effects from Reforge, they are nerfed. And also, let's say that you are a player with 1,000 resonance. When you play PvE content, the build you have will... any changes you make to your build will improve how well you perform. While in PvP, of course, every change you do to your build will have an impact on how you can perform in PvP. But in PvP, there are so many other factors, like how well you play, like your map awareness and your positioning, etc., etc. So I would focus on, when it comes to PvP, I try to focus more on how I play rather than how I build. While in PvE, it's the other way around. Of course, it's also important there how you play, but it's even more important how you build. So that's my reasoning. So this is just optional. If you want to Reforge for PvP, please go ahead. But this is my recommendation for someone with limited resources, because as a free-to-play or a low resonance player, you can actually become extremely impactful in PvE if you build correctly. But you can't be extremely impactful from how you build in PvP. So yeah, personally I want to be as impactful as possible when I do any types of content. So therefore I try to focus more on my PvE build than my PvP build. Even though, of course, I'm impactful in PvP, but it's because I always play so well, right? Oh, I'm just kidding a little bit. As you can see here on the bottom row, I added damage to demons increased, I added damage done by your summons increased, and attack speed increased. If you take damage done by your summons increased, it's very easy for me to include it since I'm a summoner necromancer. But someone else should not include this one, because the only class that really utilizes their summons is the necromancer. So if you're not the necromancer, you can replace this one with either attack speed or damage to demons increased. If the damage to demons increased would actually work with summons, I would probably include this instead of perhaps skill damage. But this does unfortunately not work for summons. But this is a very, very strong effect, because I, for example, I love to do speedruns in Gauntlet, and every boss is a demon. So this will have a huge impact on your damage output if you put in damage to demons increased. Attack speed is also very impactful when it comes to your damage output. And I've talked about that in my previous video about damage. And if you can go watch that if you haven't watched that already. But I don't include it because the attack speed of my character doesn't affect my summons. So it's not that strong for a necromancer. And also there are so many buffs that can increase your attack speed. We have already talked about the Vitus Urge, but there are also Monk Essences that improves attack speed for the whole party. And there's actually a cap on attack speed. I think it's at 100%. So if you build your character correctly and also build your teams correctly when you do different types of content, you will be able to reach this cap. So any excess attack speed will have no effect. So therefore, yeah, it's very strong if you are below the cap, but if you're above the cap, then it doesn't do anything. So yeah, that was basically everything about Reforges. And now it's time to start talking about Paragon trees. And the first thing we're going to talk about is the points that you put in. And as a low resonance player, I would recommend you to first maximize your armor and your armor penetration. Because, yeah, we will talk about in a later segment when we talk about secondary attributes, why this is important. But this is my recommendation. And I would also recommend you to maximize your damage. And after damage, I would put my points in life. And after that, I would put my points in resistance and potency. And the good thing about Paragon points is there are many different Paragon trees. And some of them has special effects when you have them active. But when it comes to the Paragon points that you put in, you don't have to have an active tree to get the Paragon points that you have put in. They are always active, no matter what. So keep that in mind. But there are a few different Paragon trees that are very important. And the first of them is Treasure Hunter. I use Treasure Hunter when I'm farming in open world. And this helps me to gain more upgrade materials. And as we talked about in the previous segment about Reforges, you will unlock new slots when you upgrade your gear. And by using Treasure Hunter, you will find more upgrade materials. So it will be a faster process to unlock these Reforge slots. So therefore I always go farming with the Treasure Hunter. This, if you're in a very strong party and you do dungeons, it's not the best tree to when it comes to damage output or anything like that. But this actually works in dungeons as well. So if you are far behind on upgrade materials, you could also use Treasure Hunter when you go in a dungeon. The next Paragon tree that is a very strong tree, in my opinion, is the Mastermind tree. And this tree is it's strong for anyone, but it's especially strong for support classes. Because it will apply a buff to your party as long as the party has 4 different classes in it. And there will be one buff with the reduced damage taken, and one buff that increases skill damage. And there is also a very strong effect that applies a debuff to any boss monsters. So they take 20% more damage. So this is very, very strong. So if you are a support class and you are in a party with 4 different classes in it, then I would definitely recommend you to use Mastermind. Another very important Paragon tree is the Weaver tree. And it basically increases your critical hit chance and your damage. So it's quite an easy choice if you're a DPS dealer and you want to make as much damage as possible. This is the strongest tree right now. I can also mention, of course, that these trees, they are for PvE content. And this whole guide is mainly focused on PvE. But if you go to PvP, you can either use the Gladiator tree or the Executioner tree. As a low resonance player and a free-to-play player, I would recommend you to go for Gladiator most of the times. But if you're stronger and if you have built correctly so you're more tanky in PvP, then the Executioner can be very useful as well. So yeah, this is basically what I have to say about Paragon trees. So the next thing we're gonna talk about is normal attributes. And you can see here a picture from my attribute screen. It's strength, intelligence, fortitude, vitality, and willpower. And all of your normal attributes will actually affect your secondary attributes and give you extra value there. So let us first just talk briefly about how to improve your normal attributes. You can improve them from equipping different items, because if you look at an item, it has either 2 or 3 different types of normal attributes. You can also increase them from your demonic remains that you get from raids. So yeah, the normal attribute effect of a demonic remain, they will also work outside challenge rifts and raids, while the magical attribute effects of demonic remains will only be active when you are doing raids or challenge rifts. You can also increase your normal attributes from the Ancestral Tableau that we talked about earlier in the Warband segment. So I want to give some recommendations about what attributes to focus on here, and I'm not gonna dive too deep into it. First of all, if you're a free-to-play player or a lower resonance player, I would focus on Fortitude, because each point in Fortitude gives 0.1 armor and 0.1 armor penetration. And it's very important to perform well in PvE to be above the recommended level for both armor and armor penetration. We will talk more about why in the next segment, about secondary attributes. After Fortitude, I would opt for Intelligence or Strength. Intelligence if you are an intelligence-based character, or Strength if you are a strength-based character. And basically what it does is that each point in Intelligence or Strength will give you 0.3 base damage. So it will improve your damage output a little bit, which is of course important. After that, I would prioritize Vitality, and each point in Vitality gives you 3 health points. And lastly, I would go for Willpower, and each point in Willpower will increase your potency by 0.1 and your resistance by 0.1. But like I said, we're going to talk more about the secondary attributes in the next segment. If you are above the recommended level for armor and armor penetration, after some time, when you are far above, I would prioritize Intelligence and Strength over Fortitude. But as a free-to-play or low resonance, in most cases, this would be my recommendation, as you can see here. So, let us talk about secondary attributes. And there are a lot of different secondary attributes, and some of them are more important to focus on. So the first thing we can look at is armor. And armor, basically what it does is that it helps you to survive. And if you go to your attribute screen and you hover over armor, you can see if you are above or below the recommended level. If you are far below the recommended level, it's quite often that you will be one-shot by a boss in a raid, for example. So I would really try to get above the recommended for armor. And after that, it's not that important anymore. Because if you are below, you get a lot of penalties to damage taken. And this is what we want to avoid. And I showed you earlier in the Paragon points distribution. This is one of the main reasons why I want you to focus on armor and armor penetration, because it's very important. If we look at armor penetration, what it basically does is, if you are below the recommended, it doesn't really matter that much, but you will do a lot less damage, because armor penetration affects your critical hit damage. And the maximum critical hit damage you can get from armor penetration is, I believe, 57%. And when you are just slightly above the recommended armor penetration level, you will gain a lot of critical hit damage quite fast. But after that, the closer you are to the cap, it's diminishing returns. So when you are at 10% increased critical hit damage, you don't have to put in a lot of armor penetration to get to 11 or 12. But if you're at 51% like I am, you have to put in a lot. So if you build your character correctly, you can actually get at least maybe 30-40% critical hit damage, and that will have a huge impact on your damage output, as long as you also make sure to buff your critical hit chance as much as possible. And if you remember, I talked about critical hit chance when we talked about the different sets you can use to improve your DPS. But we will also talk about critical hit chance in the legendary gem section and in the magical attribute section. So I can mention it already here. How strong critical hit damage is depending on how high your critical hit chance is. So these two go hand in hand. So yeah, we're going to talk about that in a later segment, like I said. But there are some sufficient ways to improve your secondary attributes. And one of the most straightforward ones are the normal gems that you put in your set item sockets. And as you can see here, there are 6 different types of normal gems. And there are 3 different colors. So there are blue gems, red gems, and yellow gems. And as a free-to-play player or a lower resonance player, the biggest issue tends to be that you are a little bit too low in armor and armor penetration. So therefore I urge you to focus on the blue gems. Focus on armor until you are above the recommended, and then pump your armor penetration as much as you can to increase your damage. And that's why it's also very important when you look for new set items. It's of course important to have the correct set, but it's also important what type of socket the ring has, for example, or how many sockets your feet has, because or your neck. Because if you find a necklace with 3 sockets, you will have a blue socket in it. But if you find a necklace with 2 sockets, you will only have a red and a yellow socket. So if you are lower resonance, please try to farm and look for a necklace with 3 sockets so that you can put a blue gem there. If you find rings, it's best if they have blue sockets. And if you look for new feet, it's also important that it's 3 sockets, so that you can get as much armor and armor penetration as possible. And if we look here on this chart, we can see what the different bonuses are at different ranks. Because when you find a new normal gem, it starts at rank 1, and then you can upgrade it to rank 2, and then to rank 3, etc. And the more you upgrade it, the more bonuses you get from it. And it's fairly straightforward. You have to the first, at rank 1, you only need 1 gem, of course. And then you need 3 gems for rank 2, and then you multiply it by 3, so you need 9 gems for rank 3, and then you multiply it by 3 again, and again, and again. And as you can see, if you want to get the rank 10 gem, you need almost 20,000 duplicates. And yeah, that's as free to play or low resonance, that's basically impossible. You will have to play until you retire. So we don't have to think about that. But I would at least say that it's quite possible to get your normal gems to rank 7 as a free to play. It will take quite a lot of time, but it's possible. But it's definitely possible to get them to rank 6 fairly quick. But like I said in the beginning of this video, Rome was not built in a day, and that's the same for our Diablo Immortal characters. So yeah, start with upgrading to rank 6. I also have to say that when you upgrade a gem from rank 5 to rank 6, you also need an echo crystal that you buy from the jewelry guy in Westmarch. So yeah, put in aquamarines until your armor is above the recommended, and then go all in on sapphires. Of course, the other secondary attributes, they also matter. So here you have to make a choice. If you're 100% free to play, it's quite difficult to focus on all of them, because some of the normal gems that you find, you can sell. I'm going to talk about that in a later segments about how to invest your platinum. But at least here the thumb rule is that focus on the blue gems and to have as many blue sockets as possible. And then you're probably going to be fine. You can also upgrade your secondary attributes in the legacy of the Horadrim. And yeah, here you can see a print screen of the legacy of the Horadrim page. And on the left side there, you can see the current bonuses that I receive. And if we look a little bit deeper here, we can see that there are 3 different type of vessels that affects your armor and your armor penetration. And as you can see here, Cathan's Pity, I'm sorry if I pronounce it wrong, it costs, you have to pay with, upgrade it with green gems. You have Caldestan's Compassion, you have to upgrade it with blue gems. And you have Nilfur's Precision that you have to upgrade with orange gems. So yeah, if you want to up your armor and armor penetration, which I've already said is important, you can focus on these 3 upgrades a little bit. But at the same time, for each upgrade you make, it becomes more and more expensive. And I mean, all of the secondary attributes matter. So after a certain point, I mean, you shouldn't put everything into these 3 vessels. You should also try to upgrade the other ones, because yeah, that's also important. But you can be a little bit ahead on these 3 vessels and a little bit behind on the others if you're free to play or lower resonance. So yeah, I mean, I've already given you a lot of clear-cut recommendations here. Prioritize armor until it's above the recommended, and then go all in on armor penetration. You will get, of course, you will have some yellow gems and some red gems equipped in your sockets as well. I would not use any health point gems, I mean rubies, in your red sockets. I would go all in on tourmalines. And when it comes to the yellow sockets, I would go all in on potency, because potency prolongs some of the continual damage effects. So yeah, I mean, that will be probably the optimal things to focus on. It's the same thing here. I mean, now we're talking about PvE. This is quite, I would give the same recommendations for PvP. But of course, it depends on what type of role you are. If you are a very tank character in PvP, then it's maybe more important with the resistance, so that you can shorten the duration of control effects on you. So, but this video is mainly for PvE, and like I said earlier, the impact of your changes in your PvE build will be more important than the impact of changes in your PvP build. So yeah, my recommendation is to always build for PvE if you are free to play or lower resonance. So now we're going to talk about magical attributes. And magical attributes is one of the most important factors when it comes to defining your build and the strength of your build. And this is actually something that you as a free-to-play or lower resonance can focus on just as much as someone with higher resonance. And as I mentioned earlier, when people find new items, they tend to look on the combat rating or on the normal attributes. But what is the most important thing is actually the magical attributes. And this is where you can make a huge difference. And I have made a sort of tier list here. And as you can see in the S tier, I have critical hit chance. I believe that critical hit chance is the most important magical attribute in Diablo Immortal. And you can have critical hit chance on your helmet, on your shoulder, on your main hands, and on your off hands. And if you have an item with the triple stats, but it doesn't have critical hit chance, most likely it would be better to switch in any item with only one magical attribute that's critical hit chance in its place, and it will improve your output. So yeah, have critical hit chance on each slot where you can have it. It's very important. And below that, we have a lot of other magical attributes. And you can see here that I have taken a print screen. And I would say that the best combination that you can have on an item is when you have both critical hit chance and critical hit damage. And I know that I have been reading a lot of people who suggest that critical hit damage is actually not that strong, that you should go for primary attack damage or skill damage instead. And I would say that yes, in some cases that's correct, but that's due to your critical hit chance being too low. Because as I said earlier, the effect of critical hit damage is increasing the higher your critical hit chance is. So if you have built your character incorrectly and you replace critical hit damage with, for example, primary attack damage, then you will feel that, okay, now I'm stronger than I was when I had this item with critical hit damage. But that's only due to your too low critical hit chance. So this is a very clear recommendation from me. If you find an item with both critical hit chance and critical hit damage, you can keep it for a long time. For example, I have a shield from Hell 8, and I have not been able to find a better shield yet in Inferno 1 or Inferno 2. And of course, the base damage of a shield from Inferno 2 is higher than a shield from Hell 8, and I also get more normal attributes. But when I do the calculations, the damage output will still be better when I have the Hell 8 shield equipped. So very, very important. Don't use any item without critical hit chance. And to optimize, use both critical hit chance and critical hit damage. Very, very strong. But you also have some defensive magical attributes. And here I would say in PvE, of course, there are a lot of attributes that can increase your survivability a little bit. But if you build correctly, and you will start to do so much damage, so survivability will not become an issue because you start killing things so fast. And the best attribute for defensive slots is beneficial effect duration. Because what beneficial effect duration does is that it actually increases the duration of all positive legendary gem effects. Like for example, Mother's Lament, that increases your critical hit chance for 6 seconds. Those 6 seconds will be longer the more beneficial effect duration you have. And I just explained to you why critical hit chance is so important. So yeah, if you manage to get beneficial effect duration on your chest, on your legs, on your feet, and on your waist, it's super good. And if you find an item with only one magical attribute, it can actually go up to 7.5% beneficial effect duration. So the optimized build is if you have a chest piece with only 2 normal attributes and then 7.5% beneficial effect duration. And the same goes for the legs, the waist, and the feet. So this is a very clear recommendation. You can also see on the set pieces, you have some magical attributes that affects your build greatly. I play the Summoner Necromancer, and for me it's very, very easy to go for 10% damage done by your summons increased. So yeah, I can only get 10% from an item with one magical attribute. So this is when I'm farming and trying to improve my build, this is what I'm looking for. If I have an exceptional item with 2 magical attributes, it can't be more than 6% damage done by your summons increased. But of course, I can have an exceptional item with both skill cooldown reduced and damage done by your summons. That's also a very good item. And as I mentioned earlier, if you manage to reduce your cooldowns, of course you will. If you reduce your cooldowns by 10%, you can use your skills 10% more often. So that will of course increase your damage output. But remember that it's capped at 20%. So if you manage to go higher than 20% cooldown reduction, the effect will not do anything anymore. And the thing with me as a summoner, as a necromancer, let's take my golem for example. If I summon my golem and it takes 30 seconds for it for the cooldown to get ready, in most cases all the fights will be over before the golem dies anyways, and therefore cooldown reduction in most cases doesn't matter for me as a summoner necromancer. But of course I made a video about a sustained damage build where the cooldown reduction actually matters a lot. So it can be depending on the situation, but yeah, just some extra takeaway for this segment. So yeah, key takeaway here: focus on the magical attributes when you find new items. Don't salvage anything just because you don't see any green arrows, because probably a lot of you has already salvaged perfect items just because it was lower combat rating or because it was not triple stat, for example. So please please keep that in mind after watching this video. So the next thing we're going to talk about is whether to focus on cursed properties or invocations. And I would say that the invocation effects, they are very strong, but it's very tedious to make a build focusing on your invocation bonuses. So my clear recommendation here is to focus on the cursed properties instead, because you will find a lot more items with the cursed properties, and it will be a lot easier to optimize your build focusing on this instead of invocation. But what's very interesting with cursed properties is that not a lot of people maybe notice this, but each cursed effect actually corresponds with a certain set. So if you think about it, if we look here, for example, at the first on the left here, Ghosted, it corresponds with the Vitu set when you utilize buffs. And if you take Atrophied, for example, it corresponds with the Grace of the Flagellant. You have Blustered, it corresponds with the Windloft Perfection. So each of the cursed properties is linked to one of the sets. And here I would say that this is very much depending on what build you are playing, and so which cursed properties you should go for. And some of them are stronger than others. But I would say for me, if we go here to the next page, for me as a necromancer, there's actually one effect that is super strong, and that is the Vexed effect. And the Vexed effect actually increases the attack speed on my summons. This is very, very strong. So for necromancers, it's actually very, very important to use the Vexed properties. But here you can feel free to just try out different things, because it's not, for the most classes and builds, it's not super impactful, even if it makes a slight difference. But you don't have to be afraid to invest your time wrong here or anything. So next we're gonna talk about the Hilts Trader, and we're not gonna dive too deep into it, but I just want to give you some recommendations about what I would invest my hilts in as someone with a little bit of a lower resonance. And first of all, I would buy every type of every rare crest you can buy. I think that's very important because, yeah, it will help you to acquire gem fragments that you can upgrade your legendary gems with. And we're going to talk about legendary gems in the next segment, but try to just hoard as many rare crests as possible. But you can also buy the daily aspirant keys or the Reforge stones, especially if you're a fairly new player and you have not yet acquired any of the Reforges that you want, because yeah, in the beginning you will get a lot back from every investment you do in both Legacy of the Horadrim and your Reforges. So I would focus on these three, and then of course there might be situations where you want to buy some gems from the Hilts Trader as well, because maybe you are too low on armor or armor penetration. But yeah, I mean, you have to adapt from case to case depending on where you are right now. But at least buy the crests every day, as many as you can with your hilts. That's most important according to me. So, finally we have reached this segment, which is very exciting, and that is the legendary gems segment. And the first thing we're going to talk about is how much it costs to upgrade your gems. And I think this is one of the most important things to focus on as a free-to-play or a lower resonance player, because some gem types becomes so expensive to upgrade after some time. So if you make any wrong investments here, it will actually set you back quite a lot. So I hope that this segment will be helpful for you, because here we will look at not only which gems that are important, but also look on in which order you should upgrade them, so you get the most out of your limited resources. And yeah, first I just want to show this chart. As you can see here in the green fields we have rank 1-star gems. Here in the blue columns we have 2-star gems, and in the yellow columns we have 5-star gems. And then we can see cumulative how many duplicates requires for each rank. And then we also see cumulative how many gem fragments you need in total to reach that rank. So yeah, what I would say, let us come back to this chart in a little bit. Let's talk about the gems first, but I will give very clear recommendations about in which order you should upgrade your gems, and because there are some breakpoints where you get a lot of value for limited resources. So let's talk about it later. But first I want to go through the different gem brackets. I want to talk about 1-star gems, 2-star gems and 5-star gems. And there are some core gems in the game that I think is very important for most players. And if you look here in the 1-star, in the 1-star bucket, we have 3 gems that I think is very important. And we have Berserker's Eye, which I would say is the best 1-star gem in the game. This gem should go into any build, no matter what role you are, I would say. And then we have Carson's Invigoration, that increases the attack speed of your primary attack. This is a core gem for any class that utilizes primary attack a lot. Because if you think about it, Demon Hunters and Blood Knights, for example, and also Wizards, they have a lot of essences that syncs with your primary attack. So each time you do your primary attack, you also trigger a lot of skills. So of course you want to trigger this as much as possible, so then attack speed becomes very important. And I also included here, it's not for everyone, but for a Necromancer it can be very useful to have prolonged duration of your summons. Especially as someone with low resonance or who is free to play, because the fights will take a little bit longer to finish. So yeah, then this gem will be very, very important. So here are some very core 1-star gems that you have to consider for your build. Of course, I mean, there are other gems here that I could include. For example, Everlasting Torment is also a very strong 1-star gem. The reason I didn't include it here is because when you are attacking single target at a raid or a dungeon boss, for example, the effect of Everlasting Torment is not as good as when you are fighting several enemies at the same time. So yeah, I'm not saying it's a bad gem and that you should never consider it, but I just wanted to highlight 3 core gems here in my opinion. If we look on the 2-star gems, there are a lot of important gems to consider. And you can probably see a pattern in which type of gems I'm choosing in the core segment or in the core category. And that is actually gems that gives you damage modifiers or increases your critical hit chance or increases your attack speed. And as you can see here, we have 6 very, very strong gems. We first have Bloody Reach that increases your damage more the further away you stand from the target. Of course, this is a gem that's good for range classes. So if you are melee, you shouldn't consider this gem. But as a range class, it's super, super strong. So this should be in any PvE build for a range class. If you look at the Pain Clasp, it's also damage modifier. And it's active against any enemy that has a continuous damage effect on it. And it doesn't have to be your own effect. So if someone in your party applies a continuous damage effect to the target, you will get increased damage against the target. And I would say that this gem should go into any PvE build, no matter if you are ranged or melee class. If we look at Mother's Lament, it increases your critical hit chance for 6 seconds. And the 6 seconds can be prolonged if you manage to optimize your beneficial effect duration, like we talked about in the Reforge section and in the magical attribute section. So it's a super, super strong gem. Like I've said, critical hit chance is vital for maximum damage output. And this is should also go into any PvE build, in my opinion. It's actually my favorite gem in the game. So when I have my PvE build, if I would remove Mother's Lament, it would have the most negative impact compared to any other gem for me. So it's very, very important. Another very, very strong gem is Fervent Fang. Fervent Fang also increases your damage. The only problem with Fervent Fang is that it doesn't work with summons. So me as Necromancer, I can't utilize this gem, but any other class, they should include Fervent Fang in their PvE setup. For Necromancers though, we have Follower's Burden instead. It's only good if you use summons. So instead of Fervent Fang, I'm using Follower's Burden. It's also quite a strong gem. But in my current gem composition, it's on. It has the 8th slot, so it would be the first gem I replace, because the maximum damage increase I can get from Follower's Burden is 18%, while I get more from Pain Clasp and the other 2-star gems. They most often give 24% damage increase. The last gem I choose to include here in the core bracket. Or in the core bucket of the 2-star gems is the Cutthroat's Grin, because it also increases the critical hit chance. And this gem is often overlooked. I don't see a lot of players using this. But if you're standing behind the enemy, and you don't have to stand right behind, I mean, if you think a circle like this, and this is in front and this is behind, so you just have to stand in 180 degrees behind the enemy to get this bonus effect. It also increases your damage done when you are behind the target a little bit. So yeah, it's a super strong gem. But it's the same thing there. This doesn't apply to my summons either. So if I use Cutthroat's Grin as a Necromancer and I stand behind the enemy, it will only affect the critical hit chance of my primary attack, but not my summons. So therefore I don't use it. Otherwise I would definitely include it. I just want to mention here as a wild card, it's the Unity Crystal. If you play a support class, I think that you should definitely include this gem. And you have to remember here also that if you are free to play or lower resonance, this will actually buff those who is a lot stronger than you in the party. So every percentage that you can buff someone else's damage is more important than every percentage you can buff your own damage, as long as they are stronger than you. So this gem is often overlooked as well, but keep this in mind. It's a very good gem, especially as a support class. In the 5-star category, I wanted to highlight a few gems. There's one gem I think that everyone should use, and that is Blood-Soaked Jade. It gives you a damage buff, but it also gives you a movement speed buff, which is very nice. If you have played with Blood-Soaked Jade, and yeah, then you can never play without it, because you will feel so slow most of the time when you are walking around. So I really recommend anyone to invest in a Blood-Soaked Jade. Even if it's at low rank, it's still a very good gem. There are also some other good gems that are important for certain builds. Take the Gloom Cask, for example. If you have a character that utilizes the primary attack a lot, then Gloom Cask will be very strong. So if you can increase your attack speed, you will do more damage with Gloom Cask, and it will also increase the damage of your primary attack. So it's a very good gem for some classes and some builds, of course. Bottled Hope is a very, very strong gem, because you're actually buffing everyone in your party with it. Here I would like to say though that as a free-to-play or a lower resonance, of course Bottled Hope is very good for you, but there will often be someone else in the party who has Bottled Hope. So it's enough if one person in the party can apply the Bottled Hope buff to everyone. Then you don't really need the gem yourself. So yeah, I mean, I include it in my setup, but if I'm in a group where someone else has a high rank Bottled Hope, I don't need to use my own. I can put in something else instead. So yes, keep that in mind. You don't have to invest in Bottled Hope. Echoing Shade is just wanted to include it here because it's for me it's actually the strongest gem in the game, because I use summons and the clones from Echoing Shade, they work as summons as well. So all the magical attributes that I have that affects my summons, they also affect the clones from Echoing Shade. So the damage output of Echoing Shade is crazy for a Necromancer. And yeah, if you're a free-to-play Necromancer, I still think you should invest in Echoing Shade and get it to rank 3, because then you get 2 clones. I get 3 clones because at rank 7 you unlock that effect, but that's not necessary. Even at 2 clones, it's still a very good gem for Necromancers. I know that this is a free-to-play guide, but I still have to mention awakening effects, because yeah, maybe you are a low spender, but maybe you buy some bundles sometimes, and if you want to invest in something for orbs, I think that you should invest in awakening some of your slots. So for example, it's quite easy to upgrade a rank 1 legendary gem to rank 10. I mean a rank 1 star gem to rank 10. And when you have a rank 10 legendary gem, you can awaken an item to unlock extra effects, bonus effects. And as you can see here, I have made 2 examples. Here I have a helmet called Coals for Eyes. And you can see the green text there that it increases the command skeleton's damage by 10%. And that is actually an awakening effect. And you can also see here on my chest that it increases the cooldown reduction on my bone wall. So any awakening effect that gives you cooldown reduction or increased damage is very good, and both for PvE and PvP. So if you have limited resources and want to invest orbs in something, I would go for awakening some items. So, I promised you that I would give you clear recommendations about which upgrade paths you should use for your legendary gems. So let us talk about that now. You can see here in the green columns we have the costs to upgrade 1-star gems. In the blue columns we have 2-star gems, and in the yellow columns we have 5-star gems. And what is very important to note when it comes to upgrading gems is that most gems, they have 2 different positive effects that you can get from them. And the majority of the gems that I recommend, they have a damage modifier. And the damage increase from a legendary gem is often something that occurs at rank 2, at rank 4, at rank 6 and rank 8. So whenever you upgrade a vanilla gem to rank 2, it will increase the damage modifier of that gem. So this means that each time we're able to upgrade a gem to an even number, that will have a great effect of that gem's output. So what I would do if I were you is that first of all, I would upgrade my 1-star gems that I pick out to rank 6. This will both give us a little bit of magic find at rank 5 plus increased damage at rank 6. So if we take Berserker's Eye for example, if we want to upgrade it to rank 6, we need a total of 51 gem fragments and 2 duplicates. And this will not take a long time to achieve. After that, I would focus on the 2-star gems. So what I would do is that, let's say for example that I have 5 different 2-star gems equipped in my current build. I would make sure to upgrade them to rank 2 one by one, and then I would upgrade them to rank 4 one by one, and then I would upgrade them to rank 6 one by one. To upgrade a 2-star gem to rank 6 requires 9 duplicates and 150 gem fragments. This takes some time for a free-to-play, but it's achievable. It will not take an eternity. And if you've already played the game for quite some time, you already have the materials needed for this. So what we're going to do next is that we're going to look at the 5-star gems we have equipped, and maybe we have 1 or 2 of them. And I would probably upgrade them to rank 3 and not further if you have limited resources. This is my recommendation. When we have done so, I would start focusing on my 1-star gems again, and I would make sure to upgrade them to rank 10. And here it's of course optional, but we talked earlier a little bit about awakening effects, and I would say that those effects are very, very strong. And I know if you're free to play, you can't awaken an item, but there's a lot of players who are not free to play, but only spends just a little bit and buy a bundle here and there. And then I would think that it's a good investment to use 1,000 orbs to awaken an item. So yeah, this is the upgrade route I would take. And I would also like to remind you, like if we look at the 1-star gems, for example, it only takes 6 duplicates to upgrade it to rank 10. So don't be afraid to experiment with 1-star gems. If you have a rank 10 Carson's Invigoration and you want to try Everlasting Torment instead, don't be afraid to destroy your Carson's Invigoration and upgrade an Everlasting Torment to rank 10 instead. Because if you change your mind and want to switch back to Carson's Invigoration, it's very easy to acquire 6 duplicates. So here I just urge you to feel free to experiment. You don't have to be worried that you're gonna do something bad with your build, because it's easily fixable if you do something wrong with the 1-star gems. When we talk about the 2-star gems, I would say that the same thing applies there. At least up until perhaps rank 6, because as we can see here on this chart, we need a total of 9 duplicates for rank 6, and it's quite easy to receive 9 duplicates of a 2-star gem, because you can craft them and you can acquire them fairly cheap from the market with your platinum. But of course, if we get a little bit further in our build and we play a little bit longer, you can, even as a free-to-play, start upgrading your 2-star gems above rank 6. And then, of course, if you destroy a rank 8 2-star gem, you need 20 duplicates to get that gem back again. So then it becomes a little bit more costly. So the higher rank your 2-star gem is, you have to be a little bit more careful about whether to destroy it or not, to try something else. When it comes to the 5-star gems, I would never advise you to destroy the 5-star gems that you know are core for your build. If you have any bound, unsellable 5-star gems that you don't want to use, then you can feel free to use them as upgrade material. But if you have a sellable 5-star gem, and I will talk about that later in the platinum segment, I would always recommend you to sell it and to use the platinum for upgrades or something else. But like I said, we're going to talk about how to gain and how to use your platinum in a later segment. So basically, the key takeaway from this segment is that I have given you very good choices. Of course, you have to do some thinking yourself, because some of the 2-star gems that I showcased here, they're only viable for certain builds and certain classes. But if you take gems from these recommendations, you will be sure that you don't do a mistake when you are investing in your build. So that's the key takeaway. And don't be afraid to experiment with the 1-star gems, but with higher 2-star gems, be more careful, and with the 5-star gems of your core build, leave them alone. Also, I would say that we talked a little bit about how to upgrade your 5-star gems and to get them to rank 3. Of course, in a long term, you could get some of them to rank 5, but it will take a lot of resources. And when it comes to, for example, from a damage output perspective, it will always be more wise to then instead investing in your 2-star gems to improve them further in most cases. So yeah, just think about that going forward. In this segment, I want to talk very briefly about the charm, because it has an effect on your build, but I urge you to not invest any platinum in this. What I would do is that I would have one main charm for my PvE build and one main charm for my PvP build. And whenever I find a new charm, and it has a skill that I don't use on any of my main charms, I would just salvage it and save the materials for upgrades later. And the only time I would invest any platinum in my charm is when I actually have found a rank 1 charm with a skill that I need on one of my main charms. because then I would upgrade it to rank 5, and then I would extract a skill stone from it and try to roll for a better roll on my main charm. So we're not gonna dive too deep into this segment, but I just want to still give my recommendations so you don't have to feel worried about what to do when it comes to charms. So in this segment I want to talk about platinum, and I know that as someone who is free to play or lower resonance, you don't have an infinite amount of platinum, so it's quite difficult to know what should I sell and what should I buy, and hopefully my recommendations here can help you just a little bit. And if we start by looking here on the print screens I put on the screen, I mentioned earlier the importance of having adequate armor or armor penetration. So I would keep all the blue sellable gems that I find, but the other gems, it's not wrong to sell them. Of course, it's not wrong to keep them either, so this is of course optional, but often you need more platinum, and a good way to sell them is by a good way to gain platinum is by selling normal gems. I would also sell most sellable 2-star gems or 5-star gems, because what you should do is that you should go to the market on your server and see what's the average price of a 1-star gem, because this is basically how much is one gem fragment worth on your server. So let's say on my server, for example, maybe the average price of a 1-star gem at the moment is 650 platinum. So this means that if I sell a 2-star gem and I include the 15% tax, I need to gain more than 2,600 platinum from that sale, because you know a 2-star gem is worth 4 gem fragments. So if I sell it, I want to be able to buy 4 gem fragments and have a little bit of extra platinum over. So if I do this calculation and I see, okay, if I sell this 2-star gem, I will actually not afford to buy 4 1-star gems. Yeah, then I can just crunch the 2-star gem myself and use it for upgrade material. But otherwise I would sell it, because then I would make a little bit of a profit doing so. When it comes to the 5-star gems, they always give more platinum than what. Yeah, it would always be wise to sell the 5-star gems unless you're gonna use it yourself. So go ahead and do so. You don't have to be worried that you make a mistake. So basically, this is just some recommendations you can use when evaluating what to sell and what to not sell. But the other thing is then, what should I do with my platinum? And what I would recommend you to do is that you can go to the crest merchant next to the Elder Rift entrance, and there you can buy weekly purchases of rare crests and legendary crests. So what I would do is that I would buy these every week as much as I can, and you will be able to do so if you sell a lot of the normal gems that you acquire from hidden lairs or from the daily cap, because you can, if you're in a party of 4, you can loot up to 12 normal gems every day, plus the ones you get from hidden lairs every week. So you will have quite a lot of gems to sell. So on top of this, with any spare platinum, what I would do is that I would mainly focus on buying 1-star gems from the market at a cheap price to get more gem fragments to upgrade my legendary gems. But of course, this is also optional. If you are way behind on armor or armor penetration, it would also be a wise choice to invest in that. So it's a little bit depending on where you are right now and what your goal is. But this is still some recommendations that if you do it like this, it will not be wrong, okay? Of course, you can also, if you need 2 duplicates of a 2-star gem to upgrade it to the next rank, of course you can also buy that specific gem from the market if it's at a good price. But yeah, try to invest wisely and be careful and think a little bit before you do it, so you don't end up spending too much platinum for too little gain. So yeah, keep that in mind. So we have reached the final segment of this video, if we don't include the summary, which will be the final segment. But what I wanted to do here is just that I wanted to not dive too deep into it, but I want to just give you some recommendations about what your mindset should be like when you approach different types of content. So for example, if we start talking about dungeons, we talked in the beginning about set items. I just want you to think one extra time about what combination of set items you should use. Because I think that the main goal of your build should be to minimize the time you spend in the dungeon. So for example, if I mentioned it earlier, if you go to Fahir and you are a damage dealer, you want to equip a set that improves your damage, but you also need to think about your mobility. So if you are a class with a little bit less mobility, I would take the main DPS set and use 4 pieces of it, and then include 2 pieces of Isatar. And like I've said many times, it depends on which dungeon you are going to, and a lot of different things. It depends on who else is in your party. Maybe you have a barbarian that can buff your movement speed. Maybe then you can go all in on your DPS instead. But just keep it in mind to improve your game. If you talk about raids, on the other hand, yeah, then it's more about all-in DPS if you are a DPS role, and all-in on support if you are a support role. So just remember that what is best for dungeons is often not the best for raids. And it's also very important to remember open world builds. And here I have some very important tips for you. First of all, mobility is of course very important, because the key to farm very fast in open world is to get from pack to pack very fast. So you can either do this through movement speed or through certain dash skills. So try to keep this in mind when you are making an open world build. But what is also very important is that you need to have a lot of AoE damage, because basically you don't want to kill off the monsters one by one. That will take too much time. That will not be efficient. So you want to use skills and abilities that kills off all the monsters at once. And then AoE skills becomes very important. I would also like to urge you to use skills with very low or no cast time, because whenever you have to stop, you're losing time. So for example, if you use your primary skill when you're farming in open world, you will stand still while using your primary, unless you are a demon hunter. But even as a demon hunter, you will move more slowly while you are using your primary attack. So the best open world builds is actually where you can keep moving all the time. And especially the best I would recommend is that if you have AoE skills that are ranged, that means that you don't have to run to the pack. You can take a shorter route and just kill them from afar while keep moving to the next pack. And by having these things in my mind, when I play the Necromancer, I can see that a lot of players are complaining that Necromancers are a little bit slow when it comes to open world farming. But actually, especially when you do circle farming in a small space, I have not played with anyone that can farm faster than me. because I can basically I'm already at the next pack and then I'm aiming at the previous pack. So when it spawns, I just launch an AoE attack, it kills everything, and then I start moving to the next pack and aim at the previous pack, and I can always take a shorter route because I don't have to run inside of the pack all the time. So yeah, this is just some important things to think of when you go out to open world farm. And also when you're doing these circle farms, don't pick up the loot on the first lap, pick up the loot on the second lap, because it's much faster and easier. So when you kill something, don't pick anything up, just run to the next pack and kill it as fast as possible and keep going and keep going. And then you pick it up on the second lap. You will see that your speed will improve greatly if you utilize the tips I give you here. I know that this video is solely based on PvE, but I still want to mention some things to consider when you are in PvP. Especially as a free-to-play or a lower resonance, it's quite difficult to be impactful sometimes when you go into PvP. So here I would give you some recommendations. First of all, the Vitus Urge is very strong, even if you are a lower resonance. Because as I mentioned earlier in this video, the strength of the buffs you apply to your party members has nothing to do with your resonance. So if you want to be impactful, I would recommend you to play a support class in PvP, because then you can be very, very strong even with lower resonance, in my opinion. I also have to mention here the Feasting Barons pack, which is a very, very strong set with an interesting effect. Because if you think about it, whenever you apply loss of control to an enemy, you actually place a debuff on that enemy. So even if you are lower resonance and can't make a lot of damage, whenever you slow an enemy, for example, in battlegrounds, they will take more damage from everyone. So if you manage to come up with builds that utilizes these two sets, I think it's very strong for someone with low resonance, even in PvP. Also a very interesting addition here in this segment is the Unity Crystal that I mentioned earlier in the Legendary Gem segment. What this gem does is that you only have to be in the same zone as a party member to apply the buff to them. And whenever you have buffed someone in battlegrounds and they have an active buff effect from you, whenever they kill someone, you will actually get an assist. So if you have the Unity Crystal equipped, it doesn't matter where you are on the map. Whenever someone in your party is killing someone, you get an assist. So if you want to improve your stats in battlegrounds, this is a very neat tip for you if you are a lower resonance or free to play. So yeah, this is just some, I know that we didn't dive too deep into it now, but just some thoughts that you can bring with you to improve your game. So finally we are done with this video. I know it's been a long video, but yeah, this summary, I will not be able to summarize everything, of course, but I just want to give you some key takeaways and some key thoughts that you can bring with you. And first of all, I mean, we talked about knowing your role and picking your focus. You have to really think about what kind of player am I? Am I a melee character, and is that what I want the most? Yeah, then I should strategize and invest in factors that are good for melee characters. Or and the same if you're a ranged character, then you have to think a little bit differently. And also, like, what is my role in the party, both in PvE and PvP? Am I the damage dealer or am I the supporter? Because it's very different on what choices you should make. But of course, I mean, sometimes you're not sure yourself, and a lot of the tips that you have been given in this video, they are very versatile. So if you if you take the reforges that I recommended in this video, it doesn't matter if you are ranged or melee, or if you are a support or damage dealer, they will be good for you. So yeah, that's what I have to say about that. We've also talked a lot about upgrades, and we have talked about in which order to upgrade your legendary items, for example, or your normal gems, or your legendary gems. So try to really think about this going forward. And if you, I know it's not easy to remember everything, but you can always come back to this video, and I will link all the segments down in the description. So please try to think an extra time before you invest any platinum or make an upgrade, to make sure, okay, is this the upgrade I should make now, or was it better to maybe upgrade this other gem first? So just keep it in mind. I've already stressed it many times in this video, but to use the correct set is very important for all types of content. So yeah, let's not talk in circles and talk about it again, but just keep it in mind, so that you don't mix 6 different set pieces, because then you will not be impactful at all. So especially as a free-to-play or a lower resonance players, it's even more important that you really focus on your choices and make the correct ones. Don't be afraid to experiment, but at least make informed decisions. And by theory crafting just a little bit in your head, maybe you can say, okay, well, I know for sure at least that this choice is not the best one, and then try to go from there. And finally, I mean, there are a lot of things that we've talked about in this video where you don't have to worry about experimenting a little bit, or that you don't have to focus on that much. But there are some areas where you really have to focus, otherwise you will waste platinum or waste time. So I really hope that this video somehow helps you to become a better player. And before you watch this, maybe if you were playing for 10 hours, you would have 1 output. But after watching this video and implementing some of the tips I give here, you will have a higher output. So that's the goal. So yeah, with that being said, I'm very, very grateful that you have tuned in to my channel again, and I'm really, really happy that so many of you already watched my DPS guide, for example. I know that we in this video didn't dive too deep into the numbers, so if you haven't watched my DPS guide yet, I recommend you to watch it. I'm gonna link to it in the end of the video here. So yeah, that's enough for today. I wish all of you a nice day or a nice evening, and to all of my clan members out there in Kuro, I would like to say Avrath El Omno Kuro. Bye bye.